Revenza tales, where justice bites back. They say family is bound by blood. But in Maple Creek, Oklahoma, blood could just as easily drown you as it could save you. My name is Emily Harper. For years, I thought silence was my armor, the only way to survive in a household where love felt more like a battlefield than a refuge. But I was wrong. Silence isn't just a shield. It can also be sharpened into a weapon, honed in the shadows until the moment comes to strike. When my family betrayed me, when they tried to rip away the last thing that tethered me to hope, I learned to wield that weapon with precision. Maple Creek wasn't just a town. It was a stage, a place of polished smiles and whispered judgments. Every Sunday, church bells rang over endless wheat fields, their golden waves bending beneath the prairie winds. But in those pews, the smiles never quite touched the eyes. Secrets crept through those streets faster than gossip over coffee. And everyone thought they knew the Harpers. My father, Michael Harper, the quiet carpenter. His calloused hands built homes for others, even while ours cracked beneath the weight of unspoken truths. My mother, Patricia, wore her charm like a veil. Her compliments sparkled on the surface, but beneath them lurked edges sharp enough to bleed. And my older sister, Jessica, Maple Creek's golden child. Her laughter was bright enough to blind, her ambition cutthroat, and her heart colder than frost on a winter window. But then there was my grandmother, Margaret. Her farmhouse was more than wood and nails, it was sanctuary. The air always carried the scent of lavender and fresh bread, the creak of the floorboards a melody of comfort rather than warning. She would sit by the hearth, her hands folded in her lap, and tell me, "Emily, silence can guard you, but never let it chain you." At the time, I didn't understand. One day, I would. It all began to unravel during a Sunday dinner. The dining room flickered with chandelier light, shadows clinging to the corners like specters. Patricia's voice cut through the clatter of forks. "Our Jessica is destined for greatness. A top law firm in Tulsa. Imagine that. Not everyone has such ambition." Then her gaze slid toward me, her lips curving into a smile sharp as glass. "Still painting, Emily? Such a quaint little hobby. Maybe one day you'll find purpose." I swallowed my reply, as I always did. Words were landmines in that house, and silence had always been the only safe step. 2 weeks later, my phone rang. The sound was piercing, relentless. When I answered, my world shifted. My grandmother was gone. The words struck like a hammer, leaving me breathless. The only true haven I'd ever known had been ripped away, sinking into the earth with her. Her funeral was more performance than mourning. Jessica's tears sparkled perfectly, timed like pearls rolling down her cheeks. Patricia clutched her necklace, her grief as rehearsed as her charm. My father sat stiff and wordless, a stone figure whose pain was buried deeper than the casket before us. And I, standing by the coffin, whispered into the silence, "I'll keep your memory alive, Grandma. I swear it." I had no idea how heavy that promise would become. The reading of the will was a storm behind closed doors. The lawyer's office smelled of old paper and stale air. Every tick of the wall clock beat like a countdown. Mr. Reed's voice cracked the silence. "Margaret and Harper leaves her farmhouse, her 200 acres of land, and savings totaling $14 million to her granddaughter, Emily Harper." The room froze solid. Then it shattered. Patricia's voice whipped through the air. "That land belongs to us. It's the Harper legacy." Jessica's eyes flared, her smile tight and dangerous. "She tricked Grandma. Emily doesn't deserve a cent. I was the one who cared for her. But we all knew the truth." Jessica hadn't darkened Grandma's doorstep in years unless she needed money. Their outrage wasn't grief, it was hunger. Wolves circling what they believed was theirs. That night, Patricia cornered me in the hallway of her house. The light flickered overhead, her perfume suffocating, her whisper venomous. "Sign it over, Emily. You're too fragile for this. You always have been. Don't make me prove how weak you are." Her words lingered, clinging to me like smoke long after she left. That was the moment I knew. Silence wasn't my refuge anymore. It was going to be my arsenal. The weeks blurred into a storm. Jessica unleashed her venom online, painting me as a greedy parasite who manipulated Grandma. Her lies spread fast, burning through town like dry grass in summer heat. At the grocery store, neighbors whispered behind their carts. At the community center where I taught art, parents eyed me with suspicion, their trust poisoned by rumor. They wanted me to break. I didn't. Not yet. Because revenge isn't born in fire, it's forged in the quiet, where no one sees you sharpen the blade. Even my father's loyalty fractured. One night, we sat at the kitchen table. His coffee sat untouched, the steam fading as his hands trembled. His eyes never lifted from the wood grain when he spoke. Give them some, Emily. Keep the peace. Money's not worth losing family. His words sliced deeper than Patricia's threats. Betrayal wrapped in fatherly advice. Even he had chosen them over me. That night, I drove to the farmhouse, gravel crunching under my tires, the stars above sharp and cold. And in that moment, I made my choice. I would not surrender. And I would not stay silent. I started my search in the dark. The farmhouse was thick with dust, its walls groaning with memory. I combed through Margaret's belongings, boxes of faded photographs, letters yellowed by time, keepsakes tucked away like whispers. In the attic, I found it. A leather-bound journal, hidden behind a tin of recipe cards. My grandmother's handwriting spilled across its pages, steady at first, then frail. She had written everything, every visit, every conversation, every slight. And in the final entry, her words burned into me. Emily is the only one who came when I was ill. The only one who listened. Jessica visited once in 4 years, always with her hand out. Patricia never forgave me for keeping the land. They will come for Emily. She must be strong. My throat tightened. She had known. She had seen this storm long before it broke. And then, the line that chilled me to the bone. If they try to take what's hers, Emily must know the truth about the Harper name. Our wealth was not built on honest work. The land carries secrets that will not stay buried. The farmhouse seemed to breathe around me, its walls groaning like they carried the weight of those secrets. But Jessica wasn't done. One muggy afternoon, I found her sitting on my porch swing, swaying like she owned it. Her smile dripped poison. Cute little place, Emily. Be ashamed to lose it. Court battles get expensive. Messy. Sign it over now, and we can all move on. I stayed silent. Silence makes predators sloppy. It convinces them they've already won. But behind my silence, I was building my arsenal. I went back to Mr. Reed and demanded every document tied to the estate. That's when I saw it, the cracks. Inconsistent signatures. Dates that didn't line up. Jessica had tried to alter the will before it was finalized. She'd failed, but her attempt left fingerprints. I gathered it all, her online rants, her threats, screenshots of every lie. Piece by piece, I built my case. Quiet. Relentless. Because sometimes silence isn't surrender. It's the sound of a storm gathering. Then came the dinner. Patricia dressed it up as a family reconciliation, hosting it in her sprawling estate where chandeliers glimmered overhead like crowns of false majesty. The dining hall pulsed with the murmur of relatives, neighbors, even the local pastor, faces smiling too wide, laughter too brittle to be real. It wasn't a gathering, it was a trial. I was the accused, cast as the villain in a story they'd already written. The air was steeped with rosemary and deceit, the clink of crystal glasses like swords drawn before battle. Jessica rose to her feet, wineglass lifted high, her voice dripping with honey meant to mask the venom beneath. To family unity. To truth. To holding on to what is rightfully ours. The table echoed her toast with claps and nods, but I did not sit still. I stood slowly, the weight of silence pressing down, yet my heart was steady. Every gaze in that glittering room narrowed in on me, expecting surrender. Instead, I reached into my pocket, drawing out a small recorder. With a deliberate press of my thumb, the room filled with Jessica's true voice, sharp, cruel, unguarded. Emily's spineless, she sneered from the tinny playback. She'll cave in court. And if she doesn't, I've got ways to break her. Grandma was losing her mind. It'll be easy to prove. The sound hit like a thunderclap. Wine glasses rattled against porcelain. Murmurs erupted into gasps, faces shifting from admiration to unease, from loyalty to disbelief. Patricia bolted up from her chair, her shrill cry cutting across the room. Turn that off this instant. But I wasn't finished. My hand tightened around Margaret's worn leather journal. I opened it, the faded ink heavy with truth, and read aloud with a voice that refused to tremble. Jessica came once, and only to ask for money. Patricia threatened me when I refused to sell the land. Emily is my heir because she carries my heart, not my silence. The words fell like hammer blows, cracking the fragile illusion of their power. The dining room fell still, an abyss of silence where even the chandelier's light seemed to dim. Jessica's cheeks blanched, her carefully constructed charm crumbling like ash. Patricia's fingers twitched, her authority collapsing in the very house she had built on control and fear. I closed the journal, slipped the recorder back into my pocket, and turned away. My footsteps echoed through the marble halls, louder than any shout, heavier than any verdict. I didn't need to raise my voice. Truth had already spoken for me. The fallout came swift and merciless. Neighbors who once praised Jessica now crossed the street to avoid her. The pastor, her most loyal supporter, rescinded her invitation to speak at the church. Legal threats withered to dust. My evidence was ironclad, every lie exposed under the harsh light of truth. Jessica's golden image tarnished beyond repair, and Patricia's carefully cultivated empire of whispers cracked, splintering beneath the weight of her own deceit. Justice had bared its teeth. But it wasn't finished. On a storm-lashed night, thunder rattling the farmhouse windows, I stumbled across something more. Beneath Margaret's bed, hidden under a loose floorboard, I uncovered a sealed envelope. My name was scrawled across it in her trembling hand. My fingers shook as I tore it open, the paper crisp, the ink bleeding warnings into my skin. The letter was short, but every word rang like a bell of doom. Emily, you've won the first battle, but the war is far from over. The Harper fortune was not built on sweat, it was built on blood. The land carries secrets, ones powerful enough to unravel us all. Trust no one, not even those you think you love. The earth itself remembers, and the soil does not stay silent. The farmhouse groaned as if it had heard her warning, its beams creaking like bones under strain. Outside, the storm howled, and in the spaces between the thunder, I swore I heard whispers threading through the wind. Margaret hadn't left me a simple inheritance. She had left me a battleground. And the war, the true war, was only beginning. What secrets lie buried in Maple Creek soil? Will I uncover the truth before it consumes me whole? If you've walked this far with me, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell, because Revenza Tales has only just sharpened its blade. Justice always bites back. And I want to hear from you. If your family turned against you, would you fight? Or would you fold? See you in the next chapter.